Project Mode intersection of architecture and community was dealing with designing a community center in the very hustle bustle market space of Udaipur, named as Hathipol. Something which was very interesting of the studio was students were actually able to understand the actual convergence between architecture and community, how communities shape architecture and how architecture leaves their imprint on communities is something which we actually explored a lot during this entire studio. The studio was focusing on studying the entire market space in terms of people, place, and pattern. So they were studying, architecture. They were studying spaces. They were studying activities, festivals, and a lot of other things within that particular market space of Hathipol. Eventually, knowing and understanding what exactly is the need of the people of that entire location, and eventually presenting something which is going to be crafted almost, how should I say this thing, custom crafted for the people over there, and then eventually making a community center for them. So I'll quickly take you through this process. What we did was, in this entire studio, it was divided into 5 phases. The first phase was spatial space making and conceptualization. Then it was the study tour at Hathipol. We actually went to Udaipur for that thing. Then it was identifying issues and planning. So we actually identified the issues what Hathipol goes through, and eventually started doing the planning for that. OSS design development basically dealt with the idea of community center being an OSS, almost like a pause point. So that was how we ended up going ahead with that. And then eventually presentation and critiques was basically the presentation technique. As you can see in this, one of the examples of one of my students, he understood issues in terms of having conversations with the people of Udaipur, with the people who were there at Hathipol. So he did some interviews and he was able to get some extracts out of it. From that extracts, he was able to get some kind of a design development through, simple spatial compositions, shapes, hierarchy, degree of enclosure, and a lot of other those kind of things and all. Eventually coming up with his own kind of a design approach, and finally finalizing what entire design is going to be. So in this particular case, if I just take you quickly, what we did was, this particular structure was made on an intersection of two roads. This road was a market space, this road was a commercial space. In both the cases, this entire structure was basically exposed to a very heavy market area. And for that thing, the student actually has made a structure which is very welcoming. It is very porous in the way it's been designed, so that you are able to see that. But at the same moment, the people who sit inside get the feeling that they're sitting in an oasis, almost a personalized space for themselves. So it's almost like a contrast. Yeah, so you can just go through all the students and they have all gotten their own complexity. And one more thing, if I would just like add on to that thing, the studio was also interesting because we did not confine on one site. We selected 3 sites throughout the Hathipol stretch, and students had a choice to choose their site. And all the 3 sites had their own unique feature. Like, this was in the convergence of 2 streets. This particular site actually had an existing temple, so they actually had to design something around the temple. So that was also something interesting, that okay, there's something built already and then they're creating a community center around it. And this particular site had a hospital behind it. So now community center, keeping in mind that there's a hospital at the back, a community center keeping in mind that there's a temple, and a community center keeping in mind that there's a road convergence. So there was a different level of complexity which we added in the studio, so that students get a choice sort of to get along how things work. And that's the reason all the design work what you would see in my studio are going to be various, are going to be full of different kind of imaginations, basically not providing them with one canvas but providing them with multiple canvases.